Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is April 2nd, 2018, and let's just plow right on into it here. No new kit releases to talk about as of right now. It's the end of the month. This is really covering the last part of March more than it is the beginning part of April, being it's the second day of April. We will catch up on the Habako soap opera, and then we'll go into filtering in the last of pretty much the Japanese kit releases, because that is what was left over. So let's take a what are we talking about on the Habako sales end here. So when we last left you, Estes was going to rebuy itself, and Horizon Hobby wanted to buy out the Habako name and the RC Axial and Aramis or Aramis, or however you pronounce that. As well as Great Plains and Tower Hobbies, but there was some sketch issue with a guy who sort of worked for both sides. Since that has all taken place, there were filings done in the court from both the legal counsel of Habako, saying that the legal counsel that this guy was involved with was a pre-bankruptcy legal company, not one that is involved in the restructuring, and therefore, he would know nothing, insider knowledge, and blah blah blah. Which, okay, sure, he's part of the, he owns, a share of of this company that represents Habako prior to the bankruptcy, but knows nothing of what is going on at Habako, or couldn't find out. But be that as it may, fine. And then he himself, released a statement to the court, swearing under oath that he had nothing to do with this company, and he was only as an advisor to Horizon via its contract with his consulting firm, and this, that, and the other thing. So, last Friday came around, which was the actual auction. The Langfords, which are reconstituting the Estes name under Estes Industries, which of course is its name back when it was founded, did successfully purchase the Estes Cox lot, and that was pretty uneventful. They did end up paying $7 million for it rather than the $6. Not sure where the extra $1 million comes from, but be that as it may, that is still at this point the only uncontested matter in the entire bankruptcy. It's like, Habako wants nothing to do with this model rocket company. Please get rid of it. You want to buy it? Fine, take it. Oh, another $1 million? Fine, we'll take it. Here, please go away. And so, I would assume that employee-wise, most of the employees will just transfer over into the new company, and they're going to stay in Colorado where they've been. They're just a subsidiary out there since 2010. And then Horizon, was the only bidder for the RC stuff, and that was the end of the auction, which of course left us going like, oh, what? You closed the auction, didn't sell everything. All right. And of course the Unsecured Creditors Committee, which is the ones that started this filing in the first place about Rusty Freeland's double dealings, let's be honest, he didn't double deal, at least from what everything sees, but it was the potential, or the appearance of impropriety about the fact that, well, this guy did all this stuff and it was sketch, and even if it wasn't impropriety, it looked like impropriety, and that would have chilled bidding, because people would have just assumed that because this guy was on both sides of the equation, that no one, that they were going to get it regardless, and so this, that, and the other thing. Oh, plus we don't think the money is enough. It's not what we consider to be a sufficient amount of investment into the company, what they were calling not a true bid value, meaning that there wasn't enough. They didn't pay enough for all the stuff, basically, and effectively the Unsecured Creditors Committee is upset about the fact that they're not getting as much money as they think they should, and then everything went into hearings that afternoon rather than waiting until Monday morning today. So the judge went, okay, Estes Cox sold, out the door, and then proceeded to basically tell everybody involved to go pound sand, that he has had enough of the bickering soap opera about the Horizon bid, that he just overruled all of the objections from the Unsecured Debtors Committee and sold the thing for exactly what the agreement was. So that brings us to today, where we got the official orders, which is more paperwork, of the sale of Estes to Estes, and the sale of the Habako RC and distribution assets to Horizon. So that is all official. It's done. GM filed a complaint at the last minute about the fact they don't want their copyright and trademarks transferred to Horizon without their approval, which I thought was pretty funny. Now, I have not really sat down with Horizon's inventory, like business model, because the RC stuff really, guys, doesn't matter to me. Sorry, I know there's a lot of RC guys who watch this channel now because of my sort of dealings with the bankruptcy. I don't, like, no offense to you guys, but it's not what we do here, so it doesn't really affect, my outlook on life. So I've not looked at what Horizon does. But I can't believe that there's nothing in the Horizon product line that doesn't have a GM licensing. They have not a thing, right? So I thought it was, just paperwork to file for paperwork's sake. Because you can't tell me that GM doesn't know who holds their licenses, and they didn't want them to hold what? It was just a really odd filing. It was last minute, and the judge went and threw that out too. Told them basically to negotiate themselves into an agreement. And so that's that. Our little birdie, who's been chirping in our ears here on the channel, has told us that Friday will be the last day at Hobbico, and that all employees were basically told go cross street to Horizon. Remember, they're both in Champaign. Go across the street to Horizon, go apply for a job, because that's how that's going to be done. There's they have to go become Horizon employees effectively. So that, of course, leaves us here in the automotive modeling world going, okay, now what? So what has seemed to happen, and believe me, I've poured over more legal filings than you could ever possibly want to. My eyes bleed PDF files because some of the other filings that have been done are like the legal firms putting in their billing to the court to say, hey, look, we've done all this work, and here's exactly what all the work we've done, and we want paid. And, of course, the bankruptcy court has to basically, verify all of those records and say, okay, this cost that you're billing is reasonable, and we're going to pay you out of the debtor's, money. Because, of course, now Hobbico itself has, about $25 million to play with, because that's what they got out of selling the two companies. There are a lot of consulting calls that have gone back and forth between the legal firms that are representing Hobbico and Revell of Germany. It appears that the sticking point with selling Revell at the moment is they got bids for Revell of Germany, and for some of the other assets, because Hobbico has a lot of like toys and puzzles and goofy stuff that doesn't really fit into the Horizon hobby stuff, which is why they didn't buy all that stuff. And it seems to like I said, the sticking point is Revell of Germany wants to buy itself out. Fantastic, best thing that could happen. But there's somebody who wants to buy all of it at once, and so right now the thing appears to be, what are we going to do about that? Like, Revell of Germany, they're basically doing almost a due diligence. Like, what would be the best thing to let this other company buy the entire global Revell, of which is both companies and United Model? Or do we want to just be like, look, you can have Revell USA, but we're going to sell Revell, Germany back to the German management, because let's just face facts, that would be the best thing for the employees in Germany, rather than, have them still be underneath another company's management. Personally, I can't think of anything I want to see better than Revell of Germany not be OUI, which is operating under Illinois. If you followed Revell of Germany for the last, say, 5 to 8 years, they did a stunning amount of great new tools. They were sort of overlapping some Tamiya kits, but not really. They were the same cars, but not the same years, not the same models, not the same trims. Citroen, Charleston, and the Sauce Aunt, the German flying duck car. The Mini Coopers, which are slightly different than the Tamiya Mini Coopers. The Beetles, which are different than the Tamiya Beetles, both in year and in trim. And of course, Tamiya doesn't have a cabriolet. The Gen 1 Golf GTI and its cabriolet siblings. And then you got the kits that have come out since then that are underneath the, operating under an Illinois problem, where you got a lot of kits. You've got a bunch of kits that are quite simplified. Parts count is down. They're not the tooling and everything seems to be severely restricted. It almost looks, you could almost see where Here comes Habeco underfunding Revell of Germany based on what the standards are at Revell of Germany. And the most obvious example of that is the Panamera, where it has half of the adaptive cruise control lane avoidance system engraved in, but the other half isn't there. The car is riddled with sink marks. It's probably the worst, just overall speaking, Revell of Germany kit. It doesn't build bad from what everybody says, but just from appearance-wise, it's the worst Revell of Germany kit since probably the Revell of Germany management that took over 10 years ago, got retired and sold the company. So we'll see. The new sale date is now April 10th, where they're going to conduct a hearing on the sale of Revell of Germany, and the other remaining partial assets. So, again, now we're in another holding pattern for another week to see exactly what they're going to do. I've seen a couple of comments online, one on Revell's actual website, or not website, but Facebook page, and of course across forums, that's it, Revell's closing, good night, turn the lights off, go home, which of course is not the case at all, and is, again, part of why we started this channel way back when, because I can't stand the misinformation nonsense. Now, granted, not everybody's in the 1%. That is this audience that is like hardcore, got to know everything that's going on in the hobby within reason. But just, to tell people who are just casually stopping by Revell's Facebook page that Revell is going out of business. Like, what is that going to... I mean, obviously it's not. That's a very easily confirmable thing, that when Revell's kits don't disappear off the shelves and Revell doesn't close doors and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, why would you tell people that? Like, you clearly don't know what's going on at all. Don't just... close your mouth, shut up, stop talking, close your fingers, as it were, and, don't... It's unnecessary to do that, because now you have a bunch of... it's like playing a game of telephone. This is going to spread like wildfire. You watch. Over the course of this week, as more people start posting that BS line around the internet, it is going to become oh my god, Revell's going out of business, go buy all their kits, which is probably done by people who sell things on eBay who want to jack their prices up. But, hey, you didn't hear that from me. Alright, so where does that leave us on kit stuff? One thing I'm going to tease here, and this actually is a new kit type of deal, is this. This is the official box art from the guys over at Salvino's JR Models for the upcoming Buddy Baker 1980 Oldsmobile 442 NASCAR kit. The licensing is approved. This is the official box art, and they are saying that they're looking for a May release as it stands right now. So, possibly a new domestic player coming into the market. Well, actually, not possibly. It is, but possibly in May. I think originally was saying March, but GM licensing moves at the speed of yesterday, so there's not so much you could do with that. From what I understand, they're happy with the tooling, I believe. Might be like one little, two little, three little revisions, which is, amazingly easy to do when your tooling is in California and you're in Texas, right? It's 2 time zones away. Very easy to figure this stuff out. But yeah, so this is coming. It's got a skew, so it's a real thing. Hang on to your hats. They've got another tool planned, which I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I'm like, it's not public, so I won't say. And there will be a couple more versions of this Oldsmobile as far as delivery packages go. So if you're into vintage NASCAR, it's certainly an exciting time. I'm still on the fence about buying one of these. I almost want to buy one just to support the new Enterprise, but I got out of NASCAR building in my teens, so I'm not sure I want to really stick my foot back into that pool. And then one thing on the decal side of things that we could talk about that'll be coming up in the future. This will be probably May, I'm going to say. I'm guessing based on the current rollout. And this is the 999 car from Studio K. Wow, Studio K is my dance studio for my kids. SK Decals. It's close enough, right? Just rename the Studio K, but much easier on my life. From SK Decals, this is, of course, the 999 Lincoln Park art car that ran the 2017 Ghia race of Macau. Very excited to have this done in silk screen decals with correct associated sponsorships and things like that. So this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. My problem with this kit and or this set of liveries, along with the other ones that are be coming out that we showed you a couple weeks ago, and the Green Hell car that was last year's the 2016 car, is they all have the Sprint headlights, which are the ones with the LED halo, and they aren't really headlights because the Sprint races are run during the day. I really need Tamiya to come through with the Sprint headlight buckets in another release of the AMG kit, because having the endurance headlights, which of course are the twin beams, is fantastic for a lot of Nuremberg, things, and the Blancpain races in general, because most of the people that are running Blancpain didn't swap the headlights back and forth. Customer racing being what it is, you have the cars you have and you run them. I've got now 5 liveries or so that I'm going to have that I can't, plus that one decal dock set for the ADAC Mobil 1 Zaxby car that I can't really technically build because they have the wrong headlights. And that does bother me enough not to build them. So, for you who don't, this is great because this is the second of the 3 Lincoln Park Art cars. One also ran last year in the WeatherTech IMSA series, so we'll see about. I know there's one of the slot car companies is considering doing it, so we'll see what happens with that. The slot car company, which we'll just not name, is having a number of issues regarding the fit of their decals, the quality of their decals, being that they are Alps style. They're not Alps decals per se, but they're Alps style where the whole sheet is a decal, and you got to trim everything out around it to make it look halfway decent. Also, the fact that they are very thick and non-pliable, so when you start doing things that are wraps of cars, like they're threatening to do one of the Super GT Good Smile Racing AMG cars, it's like, wow, that's going to be a really big problem because, the decals that Fujimi did, which were pliable, were already enough of an issue to get over a whole bunch of compound curves. What I really want is some stiff decals that don't bend. Aye. So, whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but, just be aware of what you're purchasing out there. So, I guess one of the other things we'll talk about here real quick was there was a show up in Detroit, which I can't remember the name of right now. And these photos came out of it on Model Cars Magazine from Steve. They are showing you a period, 1960s, early 1970s, work truck bed, which is sort of a utility Reading Knapheide style work truck bed. This will fit all of the Ford trucks, the current ones that are already out, plus the 65, 66 kits that will be coming out. So very interesting to see a styrene version of something like this. There was I believe Model House had a resin version. There's been a number of different resin versions and stuff like that, where they're basically giant blocks of resin that are not designed to fit a specific anything. This, like I said, Mobius is doing this, so it's specific to this to their Ford, so that's kind of interesting. Again, this should probably also alleviate anybody's fear that Mobius got sold to Pegasus and that was going to be the end of Mobius. But so that's there. That's cool. That's neat. Was not exactly something that was expected. And they also started showing off their test shots of the new pickup trucks. You see here your basically your 5 kits that will be coming out over time. You have a long bed. You have a short bed, which is down here in the bottom left. You have a 4x4, which is that one with the do not touch thing in the bed of the truck, and then you have the step side, which is sporting some different, I believe, different style mag wheels that came in the 68 to 68 to 72 trucks. So, you know what? I'm a sucker for these F-Series pickup trucks, and so long as they're not just an unmitigated disaster. I mean, some of the early Ford pickups were kind of sketch, and then they improved them as time went on. So let's hope that they, especially with new ownership, that could really put their full attention into things, can get these right the first time. But of course, it does get us into the same situation where we were at before, where you're going to have, like I said, 5 releases of these pickup trucks. Hopefully, they can space these out a little bit better than the original Mobius F100. So you may recall with that, you got the 71 and then the 69, and then, oh my god, there were like 3 more releases right on top of one another, and you had all of these Ford F100 pickups out on the market at the same time, some of them languishing on the shelves because how many F-Series do you need? And that's still the reason why we don't have the 4x4 out, because they're trying to sort of let some of that stock bleed out before they release another one of those. Although I will continue to argue until someone can show me sales data that's different, that releasing the 4x4 somewhere in the very beginning of that probably would have helped all of the rest of the sales, because people would have bought 4x4s just for the suspension and transaxle parts and put them underneath other kits rather than having them be sold last, and people have already built a bunch of their earlier trucks. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But like I said, I'm all for it. I can envision buying all 5 of them, to be perfectly honest with you. So there's that. So let's talk about the actual kit releases for this week. There are a couple of Fujimis, one Hasegawa, and the remainder of the Aoshima stuff. Over at Hasegawa, this is actually technically right. Nope, this was the last March release, and that is the reissue of the Mitsubishi Galant VR4 civilian car. Thanks for the people who correctly pointed out that this is a reissue, not a long ago, far away reissue. They reissued this kit about 2 years ago, so they're reissuing it again to restock. So again, it's one of those kits where I wish they would tool a left-hand drive dash into, but they haven't. So know that going in, JDM only. Over at Fujimi, you have the reissue of the Mitsubishi. Wow, the Honda Prelude 2.2 VTEC. This is a snap-tight kit. So know that going in. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Just know it's a snap-tight kit. It's been so long since the Aoshima version of this generation Prelude's been on the market. It's not like it's fighting with market share at this point. JDM only and all that good stuff. Factory stock only. But again, if you're into that generation Prelude, that option is back for you. And then we have a couple of Enthusiast Series kits to talk about here. First one up, the 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS. This is just a reboxing of a reissue, basically. This car came out in the Circuit no Anami boxing that came out 2 years ago. Was not listed as an Enthusiast Series kit. Well, this isn't listed as an Enthusiast Series kit either. But it was not, a lot of the Circuit no Anami cars were sort of hiding in plain sight. You got the 930 Turbo reissued. You had this reissued. I believe the original LP400 Countach in that series was a Enthusiast Series kit as well. You had there was a reissue of the Ferrari Daytona GTB 365 GTB 4 in that. So there was a lot of Enthusiast Series kits hiding in plain sight in there. So you may not have realized it, but anyway, this is just a straight reissue of that kit, the Enthusiast Series kit. I believe they've expanded, at least from a couple of the reissues I've seen, the Carrera stripes. There are many more colors in this decal sheet than they have been. Obviously, you lose the Circuit no Anami livery stuff and just have a factory stock graphics package, but that's kind of fun to have back. Although I'm not sure that the Circuit no Anami kit was out of production yet, but be that as it may. And the other one is the Porsche 911 Turbo 1985 car. I think these were last reissued in 2012 with the Countaches. So it's been about 5 years since these kits have had a frontline run. Enthusiast Series kit, so again, nothing new there, but nice to have back. They are the most detailed, obviously, Porsches you can get. And then there are, like I said, 2 kits from Aoshima that are in the model car boxing for March. They are the 1992 Toyota Celsior UCF11. This kit was supposed to come out earlier, as buildable is either a 92 or, I believe, a 95. Whatever reason, maybe it was an 89 and a 92. For whatever reason, they couldn't find parts to build the early and the late version. There were done a while, so you just get the late version done. This is essentially the same kit that is the Lexus LS400, obviously. Celsior is the JDM version. There is no Lexus parts. There's no left-hand drive. But this is that same kit as far as the parts go. It was also done as the AMT Erdl kit back in the 1990s when they reboxed this whole model as an AMT Erdl kit. And again, scripting is only Toyota. It is only right-hand drive. It is only Excelsior. And then last but not least is the one kit for the month of March that actually has some new parts put into it, and that is this, branded as a 1989, but you can build it as an early or a late, the FC3S Mazda Savannah RX-7. So, early, late, new parts. The wheels on here are new. There's never been a late version done with the correct factory late wheels. No, I don't think those are necessarily the late wheels we got here in the United States, but they're the late wheels that were done in Japan. There are also front and rear fascia differences. Front fascia is completely different. The rear fascia has different taillights. There are a couple of interior parts that are different. I want to say the hoods are different between the two as well. And this does come with left-hand drive, so you can build at least an export spec. It may not be technically North American spec correct, but you can build an export spec RX-7, which is a nice addition to your Mazda collection. If you have the Tamiya kit builds only the early version. Of course, Tamiya kit is also a full detail kit and can be built left-hand drive as well. This kit is a curbside. Sorry. I guess if you wanted to, you could probably find a trashed out Tamiya RX-7 and steal the engine out of it and try to wheedle the engine and the engine bay into this. They should technically be the same size, maybe the whole chassis for that matter. Or maybe just take the new parts out of this kit and see if you can hack and cut them onto the Tamiya kit. I mean, there's possibilities everywhere, right? But I bought one of these mainly because I wanted the late version of this generation RX-7 to go with the early ones. So that, guys, I believe wraps it up. Let me take a peek at the files here because I've got some of the stuff, for next month to talk about here in the compilation video, but I believe that's it. So anyway, guys, that wraps up March 2018. Everything except one kit out of Aoshima and some wheel sets came out on time, and those wheel sets in the Volkswagen 1303 have been pushed back to March. So other than the Revell kits, which are at this point, everything came out on time. So hope you enjoyed it. See you guys on the next one.